Okay, and then I'm going to share my screen. All right, can everybody see that slide there? Thank you. So, welcome. This is our Get Ready to Graduate session for the spring of 2025. It's open to students who are graduating this spring or who might be graduating in the summer. It's just our way of getting you prepped to graduate. So, if you are overwhelmed in your final semester, hopefully this doesn't add to it and it will alleviate some of your questions or concerns that you might have about getting ready to graduate. So some things that we're going to talk today about are filing your intent to graduate, completing the capstone assessment, commencement, the different things we have available for you in terms of celebrating. So there's the campus-based ceremony. There's also a virtual ceremony. We'll give you some more details about that. We're going to talk about connecting with Career Services, and we'll have a special guest from Career Services. Her name is Alexandra Minnick, and that's cool about her is that she graduated from the MSW campus-based program. She got her LCSW, and then she is now working as the Assistant Director of Career Planning in Career Services. So I think she'll be a really interesting person to speak with about sort of her path, and if you have any questions, we'll be sure to give time to ask those. Some other things we'll cover are requesting transcripts, requesting licensure letters for licensure in your state. So we've got a few things to cover. So the first one is your intent to graduate. If you are graduating in the spring semester, you have already submitted your intent to graduate. We have it. You've probably gotten an email confirming that you've been pre-certified for graduation. And what that means is we've taken a look at your degree audit and we've made sure that everything looks good and you're on track to graduate at the end of the semester. Of course, pending successful completion of your current classes and field placement. But for those of you who are in the summer cohort graduating, you might not have filed your intent to graduate yet. We will be sending an email this week with the steps to do it. But just for those of you who might not know, this is how you submit your intent to graduate. You're going to do so through your MyUCF portal. You'll go to Student Self-Service, Student Center, the drop-down menu, and you'll click Intent to Graduate, Apply. If you are graduating in the summer, you have to submit your intent to graduate by June 20th, but we will hound you about it, so don't worry. There's some questions that are asked of you in the application for graduation, and you might not know what the answers are. So just so you know, you're going to want to select non-thesis option because we are not a thesis program. You can put my name down as your advisor. And I would say give yourself 20 or 30 minutes to go through it. There's a survey about your time in the program. If you want to do those, you don't have to. You might also see a survey that is called Major Survey. That is not for you because you're not an undergraduate student who had to choose a major. So if you see this listed as something you need to do, you can safely bypass it. If you are in your final semester, you may have already been contacted about your capstone. This is just kind of a fancy word for this assessment that you do in your field class as part of your final clinical field education course. And it doesn't matter the score that you get on it, there's no requirement to pass. It's just something that we have to have you do as part of our accreditation requirements for CSWE. If you have any questions about the capstone, you'll want to talk to your clinical field instructor. But again, there's no minimum required to pass. You just have to take it. So now we're going to talk about celebrating you. So what we like to do is host a virtual graduation celebration, and we like to do that typically either the last week of classes in the semester or the week after. So our date for spring is Monday, April 28th at 7 p.m. and we'll be sending out an invitation soon so you can register. What's cool about this is that it's on Zoom with all the faculty and staff from the program. And it's a cool way for you to see others in your cohort, but you can also invite any number of friends and family to join us on the Zoom. And we have student spotlights that we include in a show so that you can see kind of people in your cohort and their families. I'll show you what that looks like. We ask you to create the PowerPoint slide. And so on the slide, we would have what your name is, where you are located, what you're going to be doing after graduation, if you know, or if you just want to share with us what your goals are. And then some students include a message to their family or friends, a favorite quote. Feel free to include a photo of yourself or your family. You don't have to, but it's fun to see it. And I ask that anybody graduating in spring 2025 submits that to me by April 21st. And if you're graduating in the summer, please submit it by August 11th. And let me know how you want your name pronounced when you send it to me. As I said, here are some examples that students in the past have created. So if you are interested in creating a slide, it's not required, but it's fun for us to get to see what your life is like outside of the computer screen. So if you want to share with us those things, some people put their pets. It's just a chance for you to be fun and creative. And I will send an email after this session with some specific details for how to submit your presentation slide if you'd like to do one. Then commencement. So commencement is the big ceremony that happens on campus. It's about 2 hours long. It's our ceremony for the spring is May 2nd at 2 p.m. You have to wear a cap and gown, and they must be rented through Herff Jones. If you haven't done so already, you'll want to go onto the commencement website and go through the process of doing that. You must order the cap and gown, or else you will not be issued tickets for the ceremony. So if you plan to attend and you want people to see you at the event, you're going to have to rent that cap and gown. And so it's you get 5 tickets per graduate. And this means that even if you have infants or children who would sit in laps, they do require a ticket. But if you have more than 5 people who want to come see you graduate, there are several locations on campus that will have the live stream going while you're in there or while you're graduating, and they can sit and watch it on a big screen with a bunch of people, so that they still get to be part of your special day, even if they can't be in the stadium when you are walking. We don't have the official date or time yet for the summer 2025 commencement. We do know it'll take place either August 1st or 2nd, but we don't know for sure yet. That will probably be posted late May on the commencement website, and as soon as we know the exact dates, we will get those out to you. If you have ordered your cap and gown and you want to go pick it up in person along with your tickets for the ceremony, there is on-campus pickup available April 21st through the 24th at 2 locations on campus. But if you are not local or you don't want to come on campus during those times, you can designate someone to pick up your tickets for you, or you can contact the bookstore directly and set up a time to pick up your tickets. They're basically saved for you under your name, and you just have to come and get them. So if you wanted to swing by before the ceremony begins, you can definitely do that. I'd encourage you to reach out to the bookstore just to let them know that you plan to come pick them up the day of, only because they do release tickets first come, first serve for anybody who's looking for extra tickets. And we would hate for there to be any mix up and you lose your tickets because they gave them away. So call the bookstore if you don't think you'll be able to pick your tickets up during this time, or if you won't have anybody to pick them up on your behalf. If you do designate someone to pick up your tickets, you'll have to write a letter saying that they have authorization to do so. You'll need to give them a copy of your license so that we can be sure that they know who you are and they really are giving you your tickets. So I'll send this out, but you can click on this link to get more information about that. And only students who have rented a cap and gown can donate their extra tickets. So if you have somebody in your cohort who's like, oh, I'm not walking, you can have my tickets. It doesn't really work like that. Only students who rent the cap and gown are issued tickets to the ceremony. So you can definitely talk amongst each other. You can post on the Facebook. You can ask if anybody has extra tickets, but you want to make sure that they're actually attending the ceremony and have gotten their cap and gown and just have some extra tickets to provide to you. So, a few things to know before you graduate that we're going to cover, including connecting with Career Services. As I mentioned, we're going to have Alexandra from Career Services. I see she's joined us. She's going to talk a little bit about her experience going through the MSW program and onto licensure, and then what Career Services offers you. So, we'll definitely get there in a moment. Licensure information. If you're interested in pursuing licensure after you graduate, which is not a requirement, but if you're interested in it, and you don't know what the requirements for your state are, we suggest that you do a Google search. So start with your state plus LCSW or clinical social work license. You can also check out the Association of Social Work Boards website. They have specific listing of each state, and if you click on it, it will give you the direct link for where these are all, what the state requires for you to get licensed. You can also check out local NASW chapters and get assistance on applying for licensure there. When you need to request your transcripts, that's something that you will do through MyUCF. You'll do it the same way you did the intent to graduate. You'll click that drop-down menu, Request Official. If you need a final transcript, one that says you have an MSW, you're going to want to make sure to select the hold for degree option. So if it says send now or hold for degree, you're going to want to check that option, or else when your transcript is sent, it will be immediate and it will not be with your degree conferred on it. So you would probably have to send another copy of it. If you need a letter for licensure, this is going to be the link that you'll use to request it. I say it's for licensure, but a lot of students have employers that have job offers pending based on earning your degree, that sort of thing. So you can also make your request for that here. These are the things that I ask for in that request form: your full name, how you want it to appear, your preferred pronouns, what track you were. So were you advanced standing? Were you regular track? Where you completed your clinical placement. And then most importantly, where are you located? So if you are located in Colorado, but you are trying to get licensed in Florida, please make sure that you indicate both things. That will help me confirm your location for clinical placement. And some states require a specific form to be completed. If you have such a form, there is an option in this request that you can attach that form for us to complete. So we'll review it, and if we have any questions about it, we'll reach out to you directly. Something very important to remember that I want to discuss is that your degree will not be conferred until several weeks after you finish classes. So even if you walk at the commencement ceremony, just because you walked across the stage does not mean you have graduated. We have to wait until a final certification is completed, where the College of Graduate Studies reviews all of your degree audits and makes sure that everything is in place, and then you will get a degree conferral. So, if you are looking for a final transcript with the degree conferred, it's not going to happen for several weeks after you finish classes. So, hopefully, that will be in May, but it's not going to be on the last day of class, for example. The other thing is we cannot send out the licensure verification or employment letters confirming that you've gotten your MSW until we see that the degree has been conferred. I put a little asterisk there because some employers will take a letter saying, hey, I'm in my last, the student is in their last semester. They're on track to finish their MSW, and that might suffice for a job offer. And some states will allow you to sit for the exam, the ASWB exam, prior to graduating. So in some cases, we can send out a letter prior. But it's very important to remember that the degree is not conferred right away. We will have to wait a few weeks after you finish classes and get your final grade. So now I'm going to stop sharing and welcome Alexandra Minnick from Career Services. She was an MSW from our program, from the campus-based program. And we're so happy that she came to chat with us because we know that there's a lot of services that Career Services offers, and we're not as familiar with what they are for graduate students. So I've invited her here to maybe tell us a little bit about herself, her path to working in career services, and what career services can offer to students. So, welcome, Alexandra. Nice to see you.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here. As I said, I love social work, and that's why I'm in the field. And so my one of my big passions is really to help all the new social workers, all the new graduates, everybody in the field with finding their achieving their goals, their success, and being ready for what they want to accomplish in this wonderful field that we're in. So thank you again. I'm just really excited to be here. To be honest, to kind of start, I guess, kind of with my journey, I got my bachelor's here at UCF. I did start here as UCF. I'm a first gen, transferred over from Valencia, um, and then pursued psychology and sociology. So I had my two degrees, and I really loved it. From my kind of my starting point, I always knew I wanted to go into, counseling. I just didn't really know all about the pathways until I kind of stumbled upon the social work program when I was considering, okay, I want to do counseling, but I don't know what pathway I want to take. How do I become that? And so I had seen that someone was talking about clinical social work, and I'm like, oh, what is that? And like, I'm going to look into that. And then I found the UCF one here, and I was like, oh, UCF has one, even better. I graduated from here, so I love UCF. Um, and then that just led me into learning more about clinical social work. And I'm like, sounds great. Understanding my values, and like this really matches what my beliefs are, what my values are, how I kind of approach working with people. Really the aspect of it was the holistic well-being of working with, individuals, communities, populations, and that's really what drew me like to it, was that value. And I'm like, yes, this sounds great, and the classes and everything sounded good. So I applied and got in. Really great opportunity. And then it just really provided me a lot of great. I learned so much, and I had the chance to get the experience, which I really loved about this program, was that the experience was built in. I did my generalist, and then I did my clinical experiences. And I really felt like that really helped me when I was about to graduate and look for jobs. I was like, when they asked, do you have experience? I'm like, yes, I do. I've done my generalist, I've done my clinical. And so that was like the first thing that I ever put on my resume besides my degree was that. That's like the first thing I went into to put that. So it really just gave me great opportunities, understanding, like learning more about what I wanted to do as well as my career goal, because my career goal was social work and I wanted to do counseling, but I didn't really know where in counseling, what kind of population did I want to work in, what kind of sector. And so that's kind of how this program helped me. Was I wanted to work with college students. I've always loved working with college students, and also with the veterans, because I grew up in a military family. So those were kind of two populations. So when I decided on my generalist and my generalist first was working with college students, and then my clinical was with the VA here at Orlando. And I really loved it, and those were really great opportunities. And so then that led me to kind of continuing in my journey, was I wanted to continue to work with either college students or veterans. And so I applied, and I actually worked here at CAPS when I first graduated, working there, and that was really great opportunity. And then COVID happened, and so, unfortunately, my job was, because I was still a OPS, which is a contract position, that was closed. So I decided, okay, well, now I got to kind of find another pathway. So I did go into tutoring and starting to kind of work on my PhD, which is in counseling. So I decided to go for a PhD, and because I did want to teach maybe down the road, so I was like, well, good time to do it now, with what was going on. So that's how I kind of approached it. And then an opportunity came in while I was kind of doing my PhD. They were saying, oh, well, we want you to find a counseling. And somebody recommended me to check out UCF Career Services and said, oh, maybe you want to try there. And I'm like, oh, okay, sure. And so I had the opportunity to complete a graduate internship uh, just for a short period of time here at Career Services back in 2021. And from there, within like 2 months, I was actually hired to become a career counselor there part-time and then eventually moved into full-time. So it was a really great opportunity because I just was starting into something that I was saying I wanted to learn more. I think why I decided on career counseling when I think about it, that pathway from kind of moving from more of a mental health to career counseling was because I had really realized that when I was working with college students, a big thing that came up was a lot about career, academic, they were asking me all this, and I'm like, I don't know, to be honest, I'm not sure about all this. I don't know about resumes or, I was able to, and I was like, I need to learn this. And so that's also what led me when I was talking to somebody, that's why they recommended maybe check career services. And since you have to do that internship, see if they have an opportunity, and they did. So that really helped me learn. And then I just felt like after I did the internship and then offered the job, I was like, nope, this is great. I'm really loving this because I get to do counseling. I get to work with the students. But I also found out that what I was doing was an intersection of the mental health and the career. So I was doing both of them at the same time because they go hand in hand. And I think that's really how I found my pathway now, where I'm in now, to that, because it was that intersection of it. And I could help students who are, that were stressed, that were anxious about, figuring out what they want to do, all the way to they're about to graduate, and what's the next steps. And of course, just getting them prepared as well. Um, and I think that's what really like led me to what I do. And then I eventually, as I said, became career counselor, worked there for 2 years. And then last year in August, they were looking for an assistant director in my department. I applied, and now I'm the assistant director. So it really does show that what I always tell everybody is that my social work degree really helped me so much because I brought in a lot of skills that a lot of my fellow colleagues may not have, right? If you want to think of it like that. I have an understanding what skills that I really use is everything from counseling, of course, the empathy, but I also come in from a systems perspective. I look at how this college student is being affected by, of course, what is going on um, from the macro, right, to the meso to the micro, right? And I see how that's all affecting the student. So my perspective has always been, I call myself a holistic career counselor because I look at the whole student. Anytime I'm doing an assessment, I'm very much about meeting the student where they're at. So I'm very person and environment. So all these things that I've learned from my social work degree, I've incorporated it in what I do in my career counseling appointments and services and programming as well, just to focus on the student and helping them. And so I think a lot of the skills that we develop, understanding research, what's the evidence saying, what's going on in the trends, all the way to understanding like how being aware of all the resources that are available on campus and knowing when to refer a student to that. I think that's really where I see my social work degree come in. And I always tell everybody, I use it every time. Every time I meet with a student, every time I'm doing a workshop, every time I'm doing a program, my social work degree is there. My social worker mind, as I said, is there. And so I always feel like it really does bring a unique perspective to the work that I do in career counseling. And I've really been able to now make an initiative, which is really cool, is that I've been able to now focus on building a whole program on career well-being, which I've kind of now taken career and the overall well-being of how we approach in social work of an individual and put it together to have that career well-being perspective. So a lot of our programming now has been really about that as well, not just only about, helping students with jobs and careers. It's about the well-being part, because you have to have that well-being, to feel good about yourself, to do well, to take care of yourself. And that's as important as, being in a job, but also not to sacrifice your health, your well-being for that job. So it's kind of navigating that, but to really promote that career well-being, because that's just as important as I would tell everybody, just as important as your physical health, as your mental health, as your social emotional health, right? It's the same exact thing. You have to approach career like that. And so that's kind of where my journey has been. But my journey also included the licensure process. So even though I ran into some hurdles with COVID-19. That's actually when I had first taken the exam for the licensure exam, and trying to get my hours. So what I did was I just started to work very slowly on my hours, and it took me 4 years, which is fine. There's not a rush to get the LCSW licensure. I know it's 5 years, and now they have extensions and stuff like that. But I just kept going with it because I said, this is really important to me. Yes, this isn't like I have to have it for what I do, but I wanted it anyway because it's something that I know this is my path, this is my passion, is counseling. And this clinical social work is that designation, right? It's that, yes, you are this licensed clinical social worker, you have this. So that really pushed me to continue, because I was like, it will open doors for me. It will open doors for me. And I will honestly tell you, I had a professor from the MSW program that actually told me this advice, and I think it's the truth. She said, I recommend every single MSW student that's interested in doing any type of counseling or doing anything where you're really working and providing any type of therapeutic service to a client, to go for the LCSW. It doesn't matter if you don't decide to go that pathway, you don't decide to use it, in that aspect of going into mental health. She said, and what she said was that she felt like it will help you open the doors. It will get you into other areas. It will showcase that you have all these great skills. And so from that perspective, I just took her advice. And I think that's really something that always kind of played in my mind, was like, you just do it. You do it. You kind of decide what you want to do. And that was really something that from this program and from a professor that really stuck with me, with why I decided to really go and push for the LCSW part of it. And then I got the LCSW and that was awesome. And now I love it. It's been wonderful. Now I'm actually going to get my qualified supervisor. I'm actually going for the training in May. So I'm going to go to the next steps now of starting the process of supervising social work interns. So I'm really excited about that. And so that's kind of where I landed with career services and here at UCF. So I always tell everybody the best part about it is I got to study here and now I work here. So it's kind of the best of both worlds right there. But what I would recommend for all social workers is definitely to get your resume critiqued, to have a resume ready, just because it is that first crucial step in anything you're searching for jobs. We do now have a new system called the ATS system that a lot of companies are using. Basically, what this system is an AI. Okay, is a AI scanner. So basically, it is a system where when you apply to a job, the resume is getting scanned by this AI system and looking at the job description in your resume and saying, is this resume and job description a match? If it is, and if it matches a certain percentage, it's kind of like a Turnitin, if you remember that, like the plagiarism, but not it's not plagiarism, but it's kind of the same thing. It will go through the system. If it doesn't match, it goes to auto rejection. So I do want to tell everybody that one thing is definitely to make sure that your resume is that ATS friendly. What I mean by that is some tips are, okay, cool. Yeah. Some like tips are that I would want you to make sure that you are using a font that is not too light. The reason is that the system can't read it. So usually the one to stick with is black because the system reads pretty good with the black font. It doesn't like columns. I love that there's all these really pretty templates out there for resumes, and I'm like, yes, I love them. They're so pretty. But unfortunately, this system is still very new that it doesn't do good with templates. It reads stuff wrong. It will then say this is not correct or this doesn't make sense, and then it'll kick out the resume with the templates because of maybe some of the colors, some of the fonts. Sometimes it can't read certain fonts. But what I recommend everybody to use for fonts wise, as I said, is just stick with Times New Roman, Arial, or Calibri. Those seem to be the ones that it does fine with. One thing to be careful of is columns. I know a lot of times we're trying to keep all our wonderful information and we have all these great experiences and I love it because social workers are awesome. But I would say to avoid columns because that system doesn't read right with columns. So because it reads from left to right, it's going to read the information wrong because as you know, sometimes you might have education here and experience on these two columns, and it's going to read it from left to right. So it's going to go education, experience, University of Central Florida. I'll just throw out Advent Health. Then it's going to go Master of Social Work and then come back to social worker. You know, it's going to kind of read it in the wrong way. So, perfect. Yes, I will. Yes, I see all the questions. So yes, I will definitely get to those in a
We're
second.
monitoring the chat as well, so you can feel free to
Okay.
keep
Okay,
chatting and
cool. Yeah.
we'll handle it. Thank you. And we'll
Yeah,
give
of
time at
course.
the
Thank
end for
you.
anybody to ask questions.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, so that's really what I would want to make sure is that your resume. So as I said, you can always come to me. As I said, being a social worker, I know the resumes and I know how to make sure that we are portraying your skills. One of the biggest things is that um, wanting you to really get an idea of really looking at your skills because when you think about everything that you have done as a social worker, it's very you have so many skills. You have so many to pick from, and that's really important. A lot of employers are looking at the skills and your experiences. They really want specific information. They want to know, for example, one tip I would definitely do is if you're including your clinical and your generalist or any type of experience that you've done, is to say how many people did you have on your caseload? How many people did you work with daily? How many people were on your team? Making sure that you're adding a little bit more of like a kind of a numerical quantifying can really help with making those descriptions of your positions much specific. And that's what they like to see. They like to see, you know, I worked with a team of 10 social workers, mental health counselors, psychiatrists, right? Or I had a caseload of 25 clients, you know, at a time. So that's just some ideas to definitely do and some skills to really consider to make sure that you definitely add because these are social work specific that would be really great for any jobs out there. Is really if you have a background in crisis intervention, make sure you really put that on there. That's a big one. Empathy is another one. Emotional intelligence, communication, rapport, also including advocacy. If you very documentation, understanding any type of, if you work in anything with medical records, confidentiality, patient plans, developing treatment plans, providing counseling. You really want to highlight all of those. Again, there's a lot of skills that you have, but those are the ones that I think are really something to really kind of make sure you talk about, as well as case management, care management, referrals, problem solving, and working in a team, also autonomy. So I would really say those are kind of the skills to really make sure that you do put on your resume, and also things to talk about in your interview. And to think of also specific examples. One tip is to think of specific examples. If they ask you, describe a time when you worked in a team, describe a time when you utilized effective communication skills to de-escalate a situation. Think about a example of that from your experience, because I know in anything in social work, we have seen that. We have had an experience or of something like that. So just think about specific examples as well for those interviews. So that's why I think it's good to pay attention to your skills when you are looking at the resume, because then that'll help you when you go to an interview. And just think about more specific examples of how you use those or develop those skills. Biggest thing I can tell you also is, if you haven't had a chance, definitely create a LinkedIn profile. I have one, so if you want to follow and see an example, feel free to use it. I have kind of approached it. I'll put it in the chat here so everybody can have it. But what I would kind of say about the LinkedIn is that a lot of employers do look at your LinkedIn, like they do want to see if you have a LinkedIn and to see your social presence. I think of it as building your own online brand. I have seen it being used now for a lot of people who are looking into doing their own counseling, their own clinical practice. They're actually now using LinkedIn to build their business, to build their selves as well, in addition to using like Psychology Today, being a part of all the insurance companies, which are very important too. But also using LinkedIn to build your brand. But also, if you're not doing that, to use it as, this is where recruiters are actually reaching out to social workers, is through LinkedIn. So they're actually messaging saying, hey, we saw you're a social worker. Here's a position that we're hiring. So we are seeing that LinkedIn, not just only for the networking part, or also being used as a job search. You can also search and find a lot of jobs out there too, is that you can actually have a way to have a connection, right? To have a way that recruiters can reach you, and also to get to know you. Because as I always tell everybody, the resume is only one page. It doesn't tell you everything about yourself. And that's really what the LinkedIn is your opportunity to tell them everything that you have done, because that's going to help them see more things that maybe you didn't have a chance to put in on your resume because there wasn't enough space, right? Or you were trying to make a decision, like you're like, I think this one's more important to focus on, which is fine. But I think having the LinkedIn, as I call it, like an expanded resume, just everything that you have done. If you've been a part of clubs, if you've been in honor societies, if you've gotten scholarships, if you've been in leadership roles, been a member of a club even, if you've done any research projects, if you've done any community projects as well. Maybe you did a drive for, maybe you did a food drive, or maybe you've done different types of community outreach. Talk about that, things that, we don't always think about, because we're like, oh, I think they're only caring about work and a job and education and skills. Think about those things that you have done, because that's what also is going to stand out. Because they say now, I think the last time I looked was 85% of all employers look at somebody's LinkedIn when they are making a decision about about interviewing that person. So after they looked at the resume and they're like, we're interested in this person, they will often look at your LinkedIn, and to see, kind of get to know you more, and kind of see, what's, kind of get to know you and see what else is out there in their decision. So I think that's really important to know about the LinkedIn, and to have a LinkedIn as well. I will tell you honestly, no one told me about that when I was first graduating. So now I want to make sure that everybody knows that. Definitely LinkedIn is something that can really help a lot and really to build your, basically, I call it your social work brand because, you being a social worker, you go in there, you bring so many great experiences, skills, knowledge, expertise, and that's what the LinkedIn can be utilized for in addition, as well as your resume and an interview and everything like that. So if you are looking for making an appointment with us, we also do provide free appointments. So they are unlimited, so as much as you need, and you actually have 6 months after you graduate to still seek out services with us. So you can still come to us all the way till the end of the year. So if you're graduating May, you can still come and see us all the way till January of next year.
That's
But
awesome. Can I just ask, how would
yeah,
they
yeah,
set
go
an
ahead.
appointment? Are they virtual or are they in person? This is an online program,
Yeah.
so yeah.
So they are either. We
Okay.
we actually offer hybrid. So we do offer virtual and we do offer in person. It's kind of your choice. I do want to let everybody know that. If you have a preference and you're just wanting to make sure, like, hey, I have to get this resume done or I have this interview, I always tell everybody one of the fastest ways, to be honest, is to email me because then I usually set aside time for students that have those like, I need to meet with you and I can't find an appointment right now. And I'm like, sure, you can definitely reach out to me and we'll get you all set up. So just in case if you look on Handshake, so the way to make an appointment with us is traditionally through Handshake. So I will also give you the link to Handshake as well. And that's where you can pick on what type of service you need, and what mode. So if you want virtual, you'll just click on virtual, and then that'll be and you pick the day and time. But if it's easier for you, I'm also fine with just emailing, and I'll create the appointment and get you all set up as well in case you need something like more immediate.
If you guys
Um,
are watching on a phone or something and you won't be able to access the link, don't worry, we'll make sure that you get it in an email
yeah,
afterwards along with the recording. So you don't have
that's
to save it right now, or you can visit it if you'd like to.
Yeah, no, yeah. And then I would say that our website, career.ucf.edu, has a lot of great resources. We also have on there our uh, like resume templates if you're needing help with cover letter, if you need help with like LinkedIn. We have a lot of great resources there as well that can help you. So if you're just looking for some uh, resources or tips or something and just looking for an idea, we do have that on there as well. And also has our upcoming events and Handshake and how to log in there as well. So it's got everything there. So I would say our website is really great. Has lots of resources. And definitely come make an appointment and we'll be here to help assist you. And I'll also give everybody my email just so you know, so you have it. So if you do want to email me, if you have any questions as well about anything more in depth that I didn't cover, I've just kind of covering today like a little general perspective on it. Just feel free to email me as well, or if you want to set up a time and you prefer that way, that's also an option. So just either Handshake or you can email me.
Thank you so much. This was so helpful, and I love hearing from students who have graduated from the program and just to see like the trajectory, like where do you go from here? Because some students are like, I'm not really sure that I want to go into clinical work. I'm not really sure what I want to do now that I'm earning my MSW. So it's really helpful to everybody to hear that. So thank you so much for coming, Alexandra. Appreciate
Of
it so
course.
much.
Yes, you're welcome. You're welcome.
And we'll be sure to get out this information to all of you, as well as students in your cohort in case they were unable to attend. And now I'm just going to open it up for any questions that you might have for your advisors. Alexandra, you're free to stay, but you don't
Okay.
have to. So if you have any questions that we didn't get to in the chat, or that you would like to ask us about graduation or about your final semesters or anything really, we'll hang out so you can ask any questions you might have.
Yes, hi, this is Jenny.
Hi, Jenny.
I came a little late, but just double check. I'm graduating for the summer, so I see there is 3 dates there for graduation in May and August. And also there is like for the social work department that we can graduate. It's a small ceremony, and
Yes.
we don't need tickets for that, right?
Correct. Yeah. For the
Oh,
small on-campus ceremony, you don't need tickets for that. I'll be sending out a link to RSVP to that one if you'd like to attend. It's not required. None of these are required, but there is a smaller commencement, celebration that we have on campus for students graduating in the spring and the summer, that will take place the day before the big commencement ceremony.
oh, okay. If I'm graduated on the summertime on August,
Mhm.
I'll be able to join that
Yes.
celebration?
Yep,
Oh,
you
okay.
still can. Yeah, for anybody graduating in May or in August.
Oh, okay, okay.
And you can bring as
Thank
many guests
you.
as you want. We don't have a limit, no tickets required for that one.
Thank you.
So that's the end of our presentation. Minoska and I are here for you whenever you have any questions. Like I said, we'll be sending out information about filing your intent to graduate if you are a summer graduate. So be on the lookout for that. If you are a summer graduate, I'll also be sending out registration emails soon. So you can register for your final semester. And anything that you think of when you log off of here, please feel free to send us an email. But you will get an email with the recording, the presentation information, as well as the links that Alexandra has provided here, just so you can have that to use in your last semesters in the program. Thank you all for joining us.